What's going on, everybody? Welcome to our Facebook Live with our Industry Syndicate show hosts. This is our weekly Thought Leaders Forum. We're joined by some awesome Industry Syndicate show hosts today. And our topic for today is going to be the top 5 marketing strategies, or could be 6 or 7 or 8. Who knows once we get into this thing. But the top marketing strategies for people to help grow their business. And so I want to take a second before we get too far into this thing. And if each one of you, I'll call on you if you just give name, show, background, something you're excited about going on right now. Rick, why don't we start with you, brother?
Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Rick Gonzalez. I'm the host of the Modern Agent podcast up here in the Panhandle of Florida. I'm excited. Well, yesterday, my county here in Florida voted to reopen our beaches. So kind of excited, nervous a little bit and see how that pans out. But I'm excited about the show. I mean, I always learn more than I give on this show anyway, so I'm just happy to be here.
Awesome. Chelsea.
Hey everyone, Chelsea Pites. My show is called The Voice of Social Sales. I am in Arizona, sunny Arizona, and I'm most excited that my husband's taking my kid camping today for the weekend. I was like, can I help you pack? It's been number 43, but who's counting? Yes. So I am thrilled about being all by myself this weekend.
That is a good one. Megan, how about you?
Megan Anderson here. My podcast is Behind the Breakthrough, and I'm in Florida in West Palm Beach, and I'm really excited about going bass fishing tomorrow morning.
That's a good one. You're doing a lot of fishing these days. I've been seeing on social media, catching some pretty big fish.
I'm pretty addicted.
Michael, how about you, brother?
Hey, I'm not nearly in the nice climates like everybody else. I'm based here in Chicago. It's gloomy here. I can't go fishing. I can't go on the beach, but I'm the host of the Luxury Listing Specials podcast. We just released our 88th episode, and I'm pleased to be here. What I'm really excited about is we launched our own. It's called Luxury Lunch and Learn. We launched with this whole COVID-19. So that's why I got to jump off of here in about 20, 25 minutes. I have Brad Inman on my show today, but every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, at 12:30 Central, 10:30 Pacific, I bring on industry experts across the globe on how they're adapting and pivoting with COVID-19, specifically in the high-end and luxury space.
Incredible. You got a lot of good stuff going on there. Definitely.
That's why I jump off of here in about 20, 25 minutes.
On
my show today, but
you, Rick?
Wednesday, Friday, this at 12:30 Central.
Somebody have it going on in the background? All right, there we go. Hey, Steve, how about you, brother?
Hey guys, great to be with you. I am the host of the Loan Officer Leadership podcast and Facebook group, where really our passion is to help people leave logos and egos at the door, really using innovation and making our industry better through relationships. And so love being a part of the syndicate, love being a part of the conversation. And with each one of you are just industry thought leaders in each one of your space. So it's great to be here and to be a part of what we're doing on Fridays, man. Thought Leaders Forum.
Man, that's awesome. And real quick, I'm Phil Treadwell, host of the Mortgage Marketing Expert podcast, co-founder of the Industry Syndicate. What I'm excited about is this group of people and our Industry Syndicate as a whole. There is a lot of incredible content creators that we have. There's a lot of incredible show hosts. And as everybody knows, what we're committed to is being a resource for mortgage and real estate professionals. And so that's what these weekly Thought Leaders Forums are all about. We're going to have a different rotation of guests every single week. One thing I will throw in here is we've got a text. If you want to text the word syndicate to 55444, you can jump on our mailing list. You'll get some exclusive content. So definitely do that. If anybody that's out there listening, jump into our community. You can also download our Industry Syndicate mobile app. So enough with the calls to action and promos. Let's get started here. Michael, since you have to jump off a little bit early, let's go ahead and start with you. What are some of the top marketing tactics and things that you're not only coaching on, but training on and helping your organization and community with?
Yeah, so again, my goal for agents is to increase their average sale price during and post-corona. So let's talk about some ways some agents can do that. Of course, one of the lowest is attend other people's broker opens for high-end and luxury properties, or host high-end and luxury properties so you can meet some clientele there. That's the lowest hanging fruit besides canceled and expired for sale by owners. but you can still do virtual open houses for other people's high-end and luxury properties during this slow time. So again, there's been some great content out there on virtual open houses, on Facebook Lives and that sort of thing. So I won't go into those details then, but that's something that I would recommend your listeners and people viewing look at and familiarize yourself with. And if they don't have high-end and luxury listings themselves, they can borrow other people's, with their permission, of course, and host high-end and luxury virtual open houses. And you could start branding yourself. I tell agents all the time, grow your knowledge and your confidence will grow. So during this slower time, there's tons of free content, tons of free Zoom meetings like this. Grow your knowledge and your confidence will grow. And so when COVID-19 is removed, you can focus on increasing your average sale price and working smarter, not harder. And even lenders, increase your average loan amount, do more, jumbo loans, that sort of thing. And that's kind of what my niche is.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And I love that tip because it's about taking advantage of the time we had. There's a lot of pessimism when it comes to what's happening with coronavirus and all of the negative aspects that we all have to deal with, not only in the mortgage and real estate industry, but as a whole. So I appreciate those tactics there and taking advantage of the time. What are some other things when it comes to people that aren't necessarily doing a lot with, like you said, luxury listings, that aren't focusing on that side of their real estate business? What are a couple more quick things that you can offer folks to help grow their average sale price, to start integrating themselves in that type of niche?
Yeah. So, keep it real simple. I mentioned one already, the knowledge factor, right? And so what are you reading? What are you surrounding yourself with? There's so many great free reports out there about upper end, high end luxury, that sort of thing. Number two, I'd recommend is they have a colleague they can shadow. Go on some of these upper end listing appointments, familiarize yourself with the properties, host other people's open houses. I mentioned once, COVID-19 relaxed, they could do some canceled and expired. They could join a chamber of commerce, maybe not in their local market, if their local market has a lot of average priced homes, but maybe a zip code away, a town or two away has more upper end properties. Once things die down, join a chamber of commerce. The circle of trust, right? With Meet the Parents, Robert De Niro in the movie 2000, he talked about it's difficult to penetrate the circle of trust. So again, it's tough to break in with high net worth individuals. So sometimes you have to do it in a roundabout way and get in with some of the influencers and the other business owners. And by joining a chamber, bringing value, being likable, that's one way you could do that.
No, that's a great tip. And I know that we talk a lot about trust and marketing, and I think trust also means relevance. And so you've got to be relevant to your market out there. And I want to kick it to Chelsea Pites for just a second, because Chelsea, you do a lot both in real estate and mortgage side of the industry. Have a background in title, have an incredible book, What to Post, your show, Voice of Social Sales. You spend kind of your time focusing on helping people build their business through social media, through personal branding, that kind of thing. So what are some of the tips that you're promoting and sharing with your community right now?
Thank you. Absolutely. So I have 3 hopefully easy takeaways and memorable as well. And maybe I've been spending too much time homeschooling because they all rhyme. The first one is faces take you places. And really just to simplify what that means is, our brand is and has always been our face. And right now, showing our face and connecting with our sphere, really the only way for us to do that in 99% of the situations right now is through social media. So now everybody's realized, okay, we actually have to be here even more now than ever. And using formats like live video, recorded video, stories, which I'm a huge fan of, that is where you're going to continue to have and grow these relationships, even when we go back to normal. But right now, it's maybe the only place that we're able to stay top of mind, visible, and human. So that's my first one. The second one is less contenting and more commenting. And not that I don't believe in content. Obviously, we have podcasts. I've written a book. I am all about content. However, it's more important to be connecting with your community, creating a community, talking to people. We are in sales, no matter what we do, right? No matter what you are, you're in sales. And that's how many conversations can you be having with your potential community and ideal customer, your audience, etc. So it's very important to think first and foremost, how can I support other people? How can I be a super fan? How can I train my algorithms and make sure they're seeing me and stay top of mind? And it's by supporting their content, by commenting either through direct messages or on their stories or on their posts. And the third one is don't stalk unless you talk, okay? Be efficient, be strategic. We cannot be spending all day long on social media, but your goal every single time you open that feed is not to mindlessly scroll. You need to be talking to people first, and then you can mindlessly scroll as long as you like, but you cannot stalk without talking. Don't watch people's stories unless you're gonna be talking to them. So those are my 3 tips right now that could cover any range of different levels of social media expertise and different industries.
No, I love those tips. You definitely can tell that you have a young one at home because that rhyming's kind of integrated in the brain right there. But I love your tips because you talk about how to get true engagement. So often we talk about creating leads, creating exposure and attention, but we all know that it doesn't do any good unless those online relationships that you create are taken offline. And so you're one of the best at being able to make sure people focus on what's going to not only create the engagement, but solidify the relationship and take that offline. So what are some things that you are focusing on yourself and your business? Maybe they're your tips, maybe it's something different, but what are you focusing on during this time of Corona while you've got a little extra calendar space and bandwidth?
So I've decided that, I'm going to take my own advice and I'm actually going to really niche and focus on one platform because there's so much out there. And even though, people might consider us more adept or professional at social media, it's hard to be everywhere. And what you focus on expands. And so during this time, I am very focused about going all in on one platform and getting really deep with my community there. So for me, I've selected Instagram, and what my goal is again, not about posting stuff, right? That's important. We need to do that. But I'm actually going to spend more time being proactive and talking to people. That means I'm going to watch their stories. I'm going to send them a direct message. I'm going to send people voice messages. I'm going to go through my list of people that I want to be, connected with, your sphere, your clients, your customers. And I am going to have a conversation with multiple people a day. And if you think about it, if you send 10 direct messages a day, and, even a very small percentage of those people potentially, respond back, which they all will respond. But let's say you get into a conversation with those folks. And when we do go back to normal, if you continue those conversations, those are going to turn into transactions and you didn't even have to sell anything. So I'm really going to be focusing on how many conversations I'm having. I'm actually tracking it. I do my 10-10-10 strategy, which is I set the clock for 10 minutes. I go down the main feed and I try to make 10 comments on feed posts there. Then I go across the stories feed and I do the same thing with comments on stories. And you need to be in both, because if you're on Instagram and you are only focusing on the feed, you are missing so many people in the stories, and vice versa.
Such great advice. Chelsea, you're awesome. I appreciate that. And I'm going to come back with some follow-up questions here in a bit, but I want to kick it over to Rick Gonzalez down in Florida, another resident real estate professional we have in the syndicate. Rick, how you doing, brother? Share some of your best marketing tips and things that people need to be focusing on right now.
Well, you kind of caught me. I'm still writing down everything that Chelsea just said because that was awesome. So right there at the very end, Chelsea said that, she's going to pick one platform and kind of go all in. And for me right now, that's going to be YouTube. I've waffled a lot in my business, and YouTube right now is just on fire, and there's so little competition out there. So I am really I've been snapping up all the goodies that I need, all the mics and lenses and everything I need to start vlogging and doing a lot of YouTube videos, because I started searching on YouTube and there was hardly any competition out there, especially in the real estate space, for anywhere near me. I mean, I could branch out to other counties and other areas and still dominate because there's no competition. So to piggyback on what Chelsea said, video being so important and so effective at building that relationship, getting that face-to-face, and with YouTube being, part of Google and just how big it is and for free, I almost think that, you're missing the boat if you're not putting some effort and some attention into Google. The other thing that I'm doing is gifting. The last 18 months, I've added intentional gifting as part of my business, and the feedback and response has been nuts. The customers and clients that I send gifts to, they're getting gifts all the way through the process, and then afterwards in perpetuity. It's not just one closing gift, and the response has been crazy. So that's kind of where I'm focusing right now. It's going to be a two-headed monster. It's going to be YouTube to get the word out there, keep that face-to-face, build my database. But then once I get people's attention, just give on the gifting. And a little plug, I don't do it all myself because I have a one-man show. I don't have a big team. So I use Client Giant. So anybody who's watching or listening, don't use them. Anyone else in the country, go for it. But if you're in my market, please don't call Client Giant. They're kind of my secret weapon when it comes to maintaining the relationships and doing the surprise and delight.
Nice. Well, we will make sure everybody in your ecosystem to text and email them exactly what Rick Gonzalez' strategy is there. But no, I think you're right. You know, we say a lot that effective marketing is the balance of trust and attention. And you found a platform in YouTube that it can create a lot of attention for you in your market, in your space, and then you're finding some other tactical ways to gain trust and relevance and continue to nurture that ecosystem. What has given you the most lift right now over the last 60 days as a real estate professional being quarantined? What are you finding as you're building out these other platforms? What's giving you the most lift right now?
The most lift right now. I mean, right now it's, you know, my focus is on my community. You know, we're a small community, and I've gone heavy on the community the last 3 years, and just the support, you know, I mean, everyone is going through just a crazy time, and you know, doing these videos right here, you know, giving back to the community, giving back to my peers and people in the real estate community locally and whoever's watching. That's, I don't know, that's what it's been. It's been the community that we've built over these last few years, and supporting each other. You guys, you know, with Industry Syndicate, everything that Snapback and Brome and all those guys have done for me. Just trying to find ways to give back to everybody who has supported me so far. The response has been great, and that's what I'm really feeding off of right now is that I have a responsibility to all of my communities, local and in real estate, and just trying to do what I can, even though sometimes it's a little hard. You know, you're stuck at home. I got kids, you know, and my wife is working home. It's not easy, but trying to do what you can to give back is huge. And, you know, I love this stuff, man. Like you see on my social, my tagline is I just love helping people. I do. I love this stuff. So feeding off of that is a big portion of it.
That's awesome. Definitely doing a lot of great things down there in Florida. And another Floridian is our good friend, Megan Anderson with Behind the Breakthrough podcast. You know, Megan, you have a great perspective on the mortgage industry because you work with a lot of mortgage professionals and understand some of the challenges that we're dealing. And you're also a big social media personality, helping people build their brand. What are your top tips? What are some things that you're sharing with your clients and community?
Yeah, so first and foremost, we're in a crazy time period right now. The market has been crazy. All these guidelines, stipulations, care stimulus acts that are coming in. And I think first and foremost, before we're going to go out there and build our brand and market to people, we have to know what it is that we're talking about. So before anything, I would spend time every single day making sure that you're in the know on what's happening right now in the market so that you can articulate that to your clients, and so that you have the confidence to be able to create that content, to get on video. So that is first and foremost of anything. Another thing that I would recommend is, you know, now that we're in a little bit of downtime, and to be honest, all the loan originators that I talk to for the most part are still extremely busy right now. The refinance business is still booming out there. But what we should do during this time is make sure that you go and you're following your clients, your referral partners on social media, because again, social distancing has really kept us at a standstill for being able to form those relationships one-on-one. And with refinances booming, I mean, what better way to stay top of mind than making sure that your friends on Facebook, and every time they go on a hike out to the mountains or they pop out a new kid, whatever the case may be, just by friending them, it's going to help you not even consciously, subconsciously, just know what's going on with them to follow up with them and stay top of mind. So that's another thing that I would do. And when you do get comfortable talking about what is happening in our market right now, I would get out there and start doing videos. I'm a big fan of video, and you need to be doing it. There's no better time than right now because, again, those clients are not coming into our office right now. We are staying top of mind through social media.
I love that. And it's so true. Social media is the great equalizer when it comes to business and industry, because it used to be you had to align yourself with a company that had the buying power to brand you along with their company. But anymore, social media is a way to get out there in front of as many people as possible. And I know that you're a big advocate of all social media platforms. And I know that our other co-founder, Dustin Brome, talked about in one of the recent lives we did that the Facebook newsfeed engagement has increased by about 85%. So I want to take a second and get your thoughts on not only Facebook in general, but what social media platforms that you're drilling down in.
Facebook always gives me a good return on my investment, I have found. And, you got to think about who your target audience is as well as when you're trying to determine this. But for me, the big winners have been Facebook. And I love Instagram for the fact that I just feel like I get more connected with people on an individual basis through Instagram. And I'm not exactly sure what it is. I'm also just a pictures person. So I connect with pictures more than I do long framed kind of post. But I think both of those platforms are great. And if I had to pick one, I could get lost on Instagram for a while. And I did during this time. I downloaded TikTok, you guys.
Well, Chelsea Pites is our resident TikTok influencer and has gone live. I want to let everybody know that's listening live. Start putting your questions in the comments. We're going to answer some of those in just a second, open it up to everyone. But I want to go to Steve, our resident producer and content creator here. Why don't you take a second, share what your tips are? You have a huge following in Loan Officer Leadership Podcast Facebook group and just in your ecosystem. What are some things you're sharing with folks, man?
Yeah, I think it's really simple. In today's marketing, I think what we have to do is help our partners and agents. It's easy for us as communicators to get in and think that communicating through video and through creative elements is easy for everyone. And so what we're doing is really helping our people, helping our agents better understand Zoom technology, helping coordinate events such as lunch and learns. We did a buyer seminar this week, had a ton of feedback and even got new clients through it. So we're really having live and real conversations. And I loved what Chelsea was saying about super fans. We think so many times we have to jump over our sphere of influence to try to influence the market. And really what you're trying to do is get your message out there. And in getting your message out there, you're building a community of people with similar vision, values, and beliefs. And so for us, it's being fast to the fight. That means we're going to show up big for our agent partners, with the business partners that we have. It's also over communicating. I love this. We're teaching agents to just press record, flaws and all. It's so interesting that when you tend to look for perfection, one of the things we say all the time is anything worth doing is worth doing. And most people would say right, because that's what our parents said. But really, anything worth doing is worth doing badly. And so there tends to be a fear of perfection because Instagram and Facebook and all of these social networks give everyone's highlight reels and not necessarily real life. And so encouraging our people and showing them how to take a step forward. And here's the other thing, Phil. It's funny because people think it's got to be perfect the first time. And what we're finding out is it's far from perfect. It's very human and there's tons of mistakes. But if you'll keep moving, be consistent in your messaging, be consistent in when you're delivering content, you will build a consistent and growing audience. I think you got to have a clear plan. We're talking about looking today, this week and in 30 days. You got to keep looking at what's coming, be predictable. And the last one that we're doing really on the marketing side is making sure that we're being empathetic with our message. Because what we have to realize is each one of us know people that have been adversely impacted through COVID and through other circumstances. We got team members whose husbands have lost jobs and whose wives have lost jobs. And so that's really where we're starting to gain traction, because you know what's interesting, Phil? In times of crisis, leaders rise or leaders step back. And there's really no gray area. And so we're just helping our community step up, not in perfection, but just in doing it. I mean, look at what we're doing with the Syndicate, right? That hadn't been it wasn't, we launched all beautiful and perfect. And I'm so thrilled to be here and a part of what you and Dustin have given, so much time and energy to. But it's just been, okay, this week we'll get a little better. This week we'll get a little better. This week we'll get a little better. Well, isn't that what marketing is? Get a little better and
Absolutely.
Don't be paralyzed. So
I love that. And I want to share a couple of quick things. And really what I'm going to do is build on a couple of things that all of you said. And one of them is you just segue with the last thing that you said there, which was make small incremental steps every single day. One of the things that I talked about in one of the previous lives, and one of the things that I'm practicing myself is, guys, in your ecosystem, you have got to be building out your infrastructure and your workflows every single day. Learn something new every single day. Try to implement something extra. Learn how to use Facebook Pixel and put it on your websites and your social media profiles. Build a new workflow. Build a new campaign in your CRM. Add a new email or text group or something, but take incremental steps every day. And the other one kind of built off of Chelsea's less contenting and more commenting. Guys, there's a ton of engagement on social media right now, but because of that, there is also a lot of content. And so you can create as much attention and create that relevance and trust that we were talking about as much by going out and interacting with other people's posts as you can by creating your own. Now, we're obviously all big, advocates of creating content and putting content out on social media, but at the same time, we have to make sure that we do it in a way that's going to be responsive and is responsible to the community we're in, and not just putting out content for content's sake. Looks like we had our buddy Jas up in Canada with the REC experience jump on here. Jas, appreciate you could join us. Let's go ahead and hear from you too. We're talking about what are the top tips that we're going to be offering mortgage and real estate professionals right now with everything going on in COVID. So why don't you talk about things that you and your team are doing and offering up to folks?
Thanks for having me on, Phil. It's nice to see everybody from the Syndicate. I know Dustin's not here. Big shout out to Dustin. Hope to see him soon. First things first, I got an opportunity, and I apologize for being a little late, but I got an opportunity to hear the tail end of what Chelsea was saying, what Rick was saying, Megan was saying, and is what Steve was saying. And look, what we started doing right away, we've been in lockdown for about 6 weeks here in Toronto, Canada. And the first thing we did was went outbound. With 25 years of sales and service experience, the one thing that I know, like social media, and I'll talk about what I'm doing from my perspective, but everyone dropped a lot of fire content on what they're doing from a social perspective. But when it comes to sales and service, we need to serve and we need to get outbound and make phone calls. I'm a big believer. I don't have a laptop. I don't have a computer. I have a phone. That's all I have. But for all those 25 years, for me, it was always getting in touch with people. So first thing we did in that first week is reach out to the last 5 years of past purchasers and sellers and investors, just to reach out and say, hey, Chelsea, is there anything that we can do for you? Can we help you with your groceries? No? Does your neighbor need any help? Just reaching out for a week. Overwhelming response was like, wow, we didn't expect to get a call. A. B, do you guys need anything? Because we built up a pretty large community over the last 15 years that, myself and my team have been selling real estate. And then after that, we started to test. We started to test to see, hey, is there an appetite for possibly investing into real estate? If anyone looks back at any of the other dips in the marketplace, we all know that coming out of those dips and within the time where the market dipped slightly, compelling buying opportunities present themselves. So we started to educate our clients on the fact that, hey, there might be some compelling buying opportunities. On the back end, I went to all my developers, because we do a lot of new construction here in Toronto as well. Anyone who's been here, you see all the cranes and all the condos being built. But I asked and started to renegotiate certain terms of projects with incentives. So what do I mean by that? We went back and said, Mr. and Mrs. Developer, would you be willing to give us a rental guarantee? We want to start off with a 3-year rental guarantee. The down payment, can you stretch that out as well? The rental guarantee, when we went to our clients with the rental guarantee, it blew their mind. Why? Because they don't have to deal with the tenants and toilets. So what we started doing every Saturday for the last 4 weeks, we've been doing brunch with REC. It was a huge game changer for us. We have a little over 300 to 400 people join us every Saturday, and I invite everyone to join us just to get a sneak peek of what we do. It's brunchwithrec.com. Just go there, register. We go on, myself, my partner, and we bring on guests. Obviously, you guys know I do a podcast, so for me to get out to guests and kind of run like a live podcast is quite easy. We get about, like I said, about 300, 400, 500 people, and then we launch an opportunity just to see if you're working, then this might be something that you might want to take a look at. If you're not working right now, don't even think about real estate, Mr. and Mrs. Client. Let's get your foundation strong. Let's get you back up and running again. Is there something that we might be able to help with, i.e. Making some phone calls to the bank and seeing if we should defer payments, or maybe we can help with a side hustle of a job, for example. But if you're working and you got some cash under the pillow and you want to deploy it and you got the stomach for it, here's some opportunities. And it took us a little over 3.5 weeks of patience, making phone calls, sending out emails. Again, I'll talk a little bit about what we've been doing on social, but really going aggressive, doubling down, tripling down on phone calls and emails. Took us a little over 3.5 weeks, but I'm proud to say just myself, I was able to put down about 4 to 5 contracts in place, and it's almost firm. It's kind of similar to what you guys in the States have going escrow. With my larger team of 25 realtors, they're probably at least 10, 12 transactions strong in that 3 to 4 week period. So don't, for any of the mortgage people and any of the realtors listening right now, don't be afraid to ask, because there's people out there, our unemployment rate in Canada right now is 15%. Scary number. In my lifetime, I've never seen it that big. However, that also means 85% of people are working. So you can also ask and target towards the 85%. We're not pushing people anyways, but we ask. So don't be afraid to ask if they're looking at an opportunity. From a social perspective, I mean, it's the same thing, man. I learn from everyone else on here right now. They have, including yourself, Phil, you guys got a lot more experience at it than I do. I come at it a little differently from the perspective of, I kind of plant seeds everywhere. So I try to be all over the place. Like, I love hearing from people, dude, I see you everywhere. Well, it's better than seeing me nowhere, right? And so I plant it all over into YouTube, audio, blog. I haven't got on TikTok yet, Megan. I'm going to check you out. Might imitate some of your videos. I know how good you do on Instagram. Chelsea's a rock star, obviously, on the gram. But like, I just try to drop seeds everywhere. And look, if Instagram doesn't do well for me, I'll take my podcast doing well. If the podcast doesn't do well for me one week, who cares? My YouTube will do well. I know, just like in sales, if you plant enough seeds, something will grow. You just need to have the patience for it. But I did, shameless plug, I did start a new show on Instagram Live at 9 p.m. Monday to Friday. It's called Nightcap with Jas. To kind of cap off the night, or go just have, I have a glass of wine or a scotch, depends on what I'm in the mood for. If you don't drink, that's okay. Have a hot water with lemon or some warm milk. Come join me for a nightcap with Jas, and we just shoot the breeze on what's going on. What's your story? What's happening? And we just go from there.
Jas, that was some good stuff, my friend. You have a way of communicating in that style that I love. I'm a huge fan of your content and team.
Thank you.
I want to open it back up here. We got a couple of questions on our Facebook group. The first one comes from Lorena, and I'll just open this up to everybody. What software and apps do you recommend for video communication with clients that are user friendly? So if anybody has any recommendations, go ahead and throw it out there.
I'm going to do a shameless plug for MBS Highway. We have a tool called Social Studio. In there, we have pre-created scripts for you. It turns your computer screen into a teleprompter. You adjust the font size, the speed, you hit record, and you're done.
That's an awesome one. I'll throw an app out there real quick. It's called Big View, BIGVU, and it's a similar platform. One of my loan officers uses it and creates some pretty cool video. You can embed some things on there as well as create kind of that teleprompter effect. I don't know. I think there's a free version of it, and there's probably some paid features in there as well. Guys, there's a lot of great content out there. I highly recommend Googling and just testing some things out. There's so many great platforms to utilize stuff right now. So if anybody has any other recommendations or any just tips with video in general, we all talk about being face forward. I know Chelsea talks a lot about using your face as your brand. Rick mentioned right there, hey, just play record, or maybe it was Steve. But guys, anybody that's hesitant about doing video content, about the way you look, don't forget that's how all of us already see you anyway. So don't be self-conscious about it. Just sit there and do it. So throw some stuff out there, guys.
And look at my face, guys. I'm not the easiest, face to set a couple of eyes on, right? So like if I can do it, and this is coming from a guy that has a high school education, like I squeaked by with 51%, love school, but hated class kind of guy. But look, I have a stutter sometimes. I like to bring a lot of energy, but because of it, I sometimes can't articulate things in my mind, and I have a stutter. I kind of like the social distancing right now because I don't have to shake hands with people because I have sweaty hands. It's not because I'm nervous. Been married to my wife for almost 18 years or something like that. No, I've been together. We've been together for 18 years. I should get that right. But I still have sweaty hands, and it is what it is. You put yourself out there. No one's thinking about you anyways. They're all worried about thinking about themselves. Get out and do it and start practicing. Your 10th video is going to be better than your first one. But the cool thing is your 100th and 13th video is going to be better than your 10th one.
Yeah, that's huge, man. That's a big yes.
Well, I think the big thing too to remember is that if you just have the stomach to get in front of the video, in front of the camera and do a video, you've already done what so many people won't do. So just by taking a step, even if it is bad, it's better than not doing it at all. I will plug a free app if anyone is asking. I think it was Lorena. Vidyard, Vidyard. It's like a free version of BombBomb. It makes it very easy for you to email videos to your clients. So it's not social media, but Vidyard.
I want to throw a little thing in here too, guys. The reason that we talk about video and I have a radio face. That's why I do a podcast. I don't love video either. I don't necessarily love these types of things. But as we all know, 55% of all communication is nonverbal. Right. And so especially when we do written communication, whether that's text messages, whether that's blogs, any type of written communication, it's interpreted in the mood of whoever's consuming that content, not necessarily what you intended it to do. And I think that's why, podcasting and video where you can have voice inflection, I obviously I talk with my hands here, right? Those types of things are important because it helps solidify and reiterate the message that you're trying to get.
Well, Chelsea, I mean, you've done a whole bunch on like how the brain works. Talk about that because that's some good stuff.
Yeah, and I was going to mention too. A lot of people say, I don't want to get on camera, and a couple tips that I give them. First of all, something that I personally did. I did not watch myself back for 5 years. Now, would I have gotten a lot better if I watched? I sure would have, but I know that this mind would not have liked it. It's also why I don't step on the scale. I don't want that in my life, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to know yourself. So if that's going to be a stopping point, then don't watch yourself back, okay? So the other tip I give is, I know we've talked about stories, but that's how Rick and I met. We met through Snapchat, and we got real comfortable being on camera, because if you're just doing little micro pieces of content, you're not having to do a script. You're not trying to be like, oh my gosh, I got to cover these bullet points or talk about a forbearance or whatever the things are. It's little tiny micro moments where you get used to seeing your face, and that makes it a lot easier. So I'm just going to speak for you, Rick. I'm assuming that helped you get better on video, because I know it did for me. And the other thing, and I think now we can all agree on this, maybe 2 months ago we wouldn't have agreed, but now anybody who's listening and watching, my one sense of normalcy in the last 43 days that I have not seen another human being is opening up my stories and seeing people that I talk to every day. And that's been amazing. Like, I still feel like I'm in the daily lives of friends and family. And that is pretty amazing. So you can't deny that it's the most human form of content. I mean, showing your face and talking to people, where would we be right now in the last 40 days if I hadn't seen the people, their faces at least. So I think don't watch yourself back. You just have to make yourself do it and try stories first just to get you comfortable with it.
Now, if you're also scared of video, I mean, and I would love to hear everyone's kind of take on it as well, right? Like, some people, they actually probably shouldn't do video because they just don't have it. Like it is what it is, like I can't spell. I have a hard time spelling. I have a hard time writing. It's very, very tough for me. But like, I don't know who's on medium.com. There's 150 million users a month on medium.com. If you're a writer, like, I got a couple of writers on my team that like are amazing. Like, I say, like, they'll transcribe what I do in video and make it look real good on paper, right? So they have that skill set. Some people just have like sultry, nice voices as well, right? Where like a podcast, you don't really need to see somebody. So what's your guys' take on like not even doing video if it's that much of a friction? I'm coming out with a book called Removing Friction, getting the bleep out of your own way. And I talk a lot about that, like, where, like, if you're having that much trouble with something, just remove it. Like, you can't lose the last 10 pounds of, you're trying to lose 10 pounds, but it's taking you 10 years. Who cares? Just leave the 10 pounds, live with it. Figure out how you can move with an extra 10 pounds. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to move the needle significantly in your life because you're trying so hard. But like, what's your thoughts on maybe just going all in, double down, triple down on audio or the written word?
Well,
Dustin and I talk about this a lot. We talk about, you have to do something that's not only that you're naturally talented at and you can develop skill around, but something you like enough that you're going to want to do it every day. Yeah. So if you desperately hate a form of content, don't do it. Like, I like to write, but very infrequently. It's not something that I'm going to do every day. So I don't do a lot of blogging. I don't do a lot of long form posts. And I think people need to understand and be okay with that, have some self-awareness. Right here in the background, as you can see, I have a picture. It's Jack Nicholson smoking a cigar, blowing smoke rings, and it says, "I am who I am. Your approval is not needed." And that's a motto that we all need to understand here is, guys, find something that you're confident in, that you're excited enough every single day to go out and do, and then just go do it with excitement and enthusiasm and understand, just like Jas, like you said, remove the friction. If you can just double down and zero in on something that you really, really enjoy, you'll go really, really deep with and have a lot of success, even if it's not necessarily what the mainstream is telling you to do.
Yeah, we all connect with authenticity. So I think in any format where you can show your true self and state your true voice, that's what people are going to connect to anyways.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, and it's interesting. I heard something a while back. It really freed me several months ago, and it was, your opinion's not needed. It's not even necessary. And so many times we're paralyzed by people's opinions instead of looking inside of us and saying, what's my gifting? What do I do better than anybody else? If I write better than anybody else, do a blog and then put a millennial on video, talking about your blog. But there's a gift that's on the inside of each of you. And what's funny is the people around you typically see it, and sometimes you don't see it. So ask your top 5 or 6 close friends and say, what am I better than anyone else at? And then just start doing that. Anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Just get started. And then as you get started, I loved what you said, Jas, just about your first one's going to suck. Don't look at it. Post it, run. The great news about social media is it's fast. So if you flop, it doesn't matter. Everybody will laugh and they'll forget about it. And half the people won't watch the full video anyway. They'll just see that you are being present, and being present is what, here's the deal. I don't want to be famous. I want to be effective. And you can be effective in what medium you're gifted in. So do that and you'll crush it, and you'll influence the people you're called to influence.
As a test, we should all 6 of us should put up our first videos for everyone to see. Like, go back, dig it up, because I think, like, anybody who's watching or listening right now, you could tell that we're comfortable in our own space, in our own place. but I think that would be kind of cool. Like I'm actually going to look for it. I'll tag you guys because I don't know where it is. It's probably like my first post on Instagram, I guess. But I did have a question, if you don't mind, Phil, for Chelsea. Kind of wanted to put her on the spot. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Run.
Chelsea, on Instagram, to hashtag or not to hashtag in your feed?
Yes, you must hashtag in your feed if you want it to get seen anywhere or grow. If you like have a private personal account and you're using hashtags, they don't even work. So if you post something without a hashtag, the only people that will see it are the people that already follow you. So if you want growth, if you want more eyeballs on your content, if you want to make sure it gets sorted by Instagram and goes to the right people, you have to use a hashtag.
And if that's a business profile as well, is that the same thing?
Yes, any profile
Okay.
you have, there's 3 different kinds: personal, business, creator. You do not want a personal account if you're trying to get business out of Instagram and grow. You want either a business or a creator, and you always want to use hashtags.
Thank you.
No, that's good stuff. And I want to kind of open it up to everybody to any closing thoughts as we kind of take this last 15 minutes here. But I think it's important that we all understand to find our space, to find our voice. As Jas said, we're all kind of comfortable in our own skin here, but we didn't get that way overnight. It took a lot of time, and I think all of us have our own journeys and our own things that we've had to work on and overcome. But I want to just open it up. If anybody has any thoughts, tips, things that are on their mind that they want to share with the audience, as far as everybody listening, if you have questions, we've got some of the best minds in the mortgage and real estate industry right here, right now, that are sharing with us. So don't hesitate to ask questions about any topic that you want information on. So I just want to open it up to anybody that has any comments.
I'll start it off since everyone's lining up. As I mentioned, I came from an immigrant family. My dad's a taxi driver. My mom was a factory worker. I was never supposed to do really anything. The teachers told my parents their whole lives that this kid, there's something wrong with him. Luckily, my dad and mom weren't educated, so they never really tried to force feed me anything. They just said, just be you, do you. And look at me now. I'm sitting here on a panel with the industry syndicate, some of the top realtors and mortgage brokers and coaches across the continent. There's a sign generally behind in my studio, Phil. I'm not there right now, obviously, but it says ready, fire, aim. So many people get caught up in paralysis by analysis and they never, ever, ever pull the trigger. They all get caught up in aim. I've made a living, and a very good living at that, by just firing. I have no idea what the heck I'm doing half the time, more than half the time. But I know because I fire so many shots, I figure out the target as I go. The next 6 months of our lives, the next year of our life is coming. No matter what, God willingly, knock on wood, we're all alive for it. You're going to have to you can now look at yourself and decide. Decide comes from the root word of other, you're cutting every other possibility out. It comes from words like suicide and homicide and genocide. So now cut every other option off, and you get to decide what those next 6 months and that next year is going to look like. And so I implore every single one of you to just shoot, figure it out. You'll figure it out along the way. You'll have people like Phil you can call on, and Megan and Chelsea and Rick and Steve. And if you reach out to any one of these people, I have in the past, I have right now live, they're more than happy to reach out back to you and help you out. Just get started. Get started.
So I'll jump in because I don't want to be last. So I'm stealing this. I'm giving credit to the guys over at Klein Giant. But one of the things that the reason why I'm so enamored with this company and the guys that own it and how they do business is their mantra is that if you have the opportunity to make someone's day, you're absolutely crazy not to. And they just live by this feeling that you should do what you can to improve someone's day. And one of the co-founders had the realization that in real estate, we have the ability to be connected and in front of our customers and clients for probably one of the longest periods in any industry. You go buy a car, you're not doing 6 months with that sales agent. I mean, there are some deals that I closed that I've been talking to these guys for well over a year before we actually close. That is a huge, huge advantage. I know sometimes we look at it like, oh, it takes so long to sell a house, or new construction is 10 months or whatever. that's an advantage. You get an extended period of time with these people to build a real relationship, and then let loose this army of raving fans to tell everyone else about it. So that's a huge takeaway from me after dealing with these guys. And I think everyone, if you just take that opportunity to make someone's day, again, you're gonna be crazy if you don't take advantage of that. So just try to give a little bit more. That whole Gary Vee thing, that 51-49, like just give more than you get. And Jas, I think you live by the same thing. So I'll end on that.
And I kind of want to tie into what Rick was saying and what Steve was saying earlier about being a leader during this time. And when these topics came up, it reminded me of Rene Rodriguez and his post that he made a few days ago about what kind of leader are you? And I think during these times of this pandemic where there is fear throughout our entire nation, we need to step up and we need to utilize our social platforms in a way that are going to encourage people, give them hope, and educate them. And think about that when you're creating your content and when you're sitting there afraid of if people are going to judge you. Because when we get down to the root of why we're creating this content, it makes it that much more meaningful. And every time you're going to go post something that isn't meaningful, maybe it's a silly little meme or you're complaining about something, I'm going to ask you to take a step back and think about how you can create content to ultimately be that leader in this space.
I'm going to tie it all in with what you guys said. So when we talk about, the idea of that fear of other people judging what we're posting and not being sure of what to post. I mean, obviously right now, unprecedented times, lots of uncertainty. We need to be very conscientious, show up even more than we ever have before and be visible. But one of the things that I think stops a lot of people when it comes to what do I get out there and say is the fear that, well, what if this doesn't sit right with somebody else? Or what if it doesn't promote my brand? Or what if it's too professional? What if it's not professional enough? So one of the things that, as Rick mentioned, are one of our favorites, Gary Vee, said, your content is subjective, but he said about the other way around. I thought this was really interesting. He flipped it on its head and he said, what you think isn't going to be great, other people may really appreciate and think is awesome because they needed to hear it at that time. And there's been a lot of times when I've made content and I thought, this is going to kill it. It's awesome. And nothing happened. And then we talked about TikTok, something can go completely off the rails viral. And I'm didn't even think twice about it. So you have to remember that you have to just put stuff out and you have to test things and you'll find glimmers and themes and, they say, okay, this will be good. I'll do more of that. But we can't be so subjective about our content and what we're posting because we might be saying something that somebody really learns from, needs to hear, needs to understand, and it might resonate with one person. And, to Rick's point again, if you can connect with one person and maybe affect or impact their day, it's amazing that people will remember 3 years later. I remember that one time that you said this, or I listened to your podcast, or I really needed to hear it at that time. Thank you. So don't be so subjective about your own content. Put it out there and see, what happens.
Hey, and Chelsea, let me come and then Phil, you wrap us up. You know what I love what you just said is that what the world needs is on the inside of each one of you. And I think that when you're putting good stuff in, then it comes out in a way that is helping you lead your sphere of influence the way you're supposed to lead it. And I just want to give a big shout out to the Syndicate. I'll tell you, one of the things I wanted to end with is this: we're better together. And what I love about what's happening, not only in the Syndicate, but we can all do this in our markets, is you link arms with people that are further ahead and link arms with people with similar vision, values, and beliefs. And then what happens is the message that you have begins to be amplified and you begin to make a greater impact. And here's the thing, I see so many people afraid to not put out content because it's not their own. Some of the best content I share is what's coming from Phil, who would be perceived as a literal competitor. Other people that you would say those are competitors. No, they've got the right message that my audience needs to hear today. And in pushing another person's message, we're seeing everybody lift. which is giving us greater impact. And I want to challenge our viewers, link arms with other people, link arms with the syndicate. You know, I learn more from these. I promise you, I got 2 pages of notes and I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. That is a beast. That's unbelievable. And it's because we're willing to come together and put our logos and egos aside and say, you know what, together we're going to make this industry better by collaborating and having deep, authentic, meaningful relationships. And here's the thing, we may not always all agree, but it's okay to disagree because we're here to make our industry better. And with that, Phil, wrap us up, bro.
Man, I want to first of all thank each one of you. You guys dropped some incredible content. I learned a ton, and I think what Steve said, I want to mirror just for a second. That collaboration is really what this is all about. People need to have an abundance mentality. I think so many times when we talk about salespeople and marketers, there's so many people that can have a scarcity mindset and not want to collaborate for fear of competition or not want to coordinate with another company, especially when it's not, for the greater good. Right now is a huge opportunity with COVID to link arms and say, hey, as a mortgage industry, as a real estate industry, we're concerned about the well-being of our communities, of our families, of our world, more so than just our individual business. And another thing with scarcity mindset, and this is kind of a thought that I want to close on, is that, guys, when you're creating content, whether it's on social media, whether it's a podcast, a YouTube channel, regardless of the type of content that you create, you don't have to have hundreds or thousands of likes or hundreds of thousands of followers. Guys, if you have a rabid 10 fans that consume all of your content, I promise you that is way more valuable than thousands of subscribers and followers and all this other stuff. So don't get caught up on seeing influencers and seeing these people out there that get all of these likes and followers, because if you have a small audience, whether it's your local market, whether it's your own company, and they're buying into your content, then it's all worth it, and that's all that you need. So I want to thank everybody for being here. We're going to be doing this every week. I want to remind everybody that's listening, text Syndicate to 55444 to jump on our community, get some exclusive content and downloads. Download our Industry Syndicate app so that you can listen to our incredible shows, the podcast network. And I want to thank Jas, I want to thank Chelsea, I want to thank Megan, I want to thank Rick, I want to thank Steve, everybody for being here. Guys, consume their content, listen to their shows, reach out to them. We're all here to help. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us. Thanks, guys.
Hey, guys, it's been great. Thank you.